Hello and welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. When this channel was still in its infancy, I decided to start doing painting videos. Not because I'm a particularly good painter, but because I'm a particularly average painter. I saw so many wonderful channels doing elaborate and beautiful painting jobs, and I thought there might be a little space for me to make tutorials aimed at beginners, or those people who just want to get a little colour on miniatures they love without worrying about winning a Golden Demon Award. Since then I have done lots of painting videos, but I don't think I've ever addressed another important aspect of the hobby: motivation. I know I have gone through periods where I find it difficult to paint for one reason or another, and I am sure lots of other people will sometimes feel like they don't have the energy or desire to pick up a brush. So today I thought I would share my personal top 10 tips for sticking it out and getting colour on your miniatures. While I talk, I will throw up some images of my painting projects. Number 1. Have a dedicated space. This first point isn't always easy, especially if you have a small living space or a large family, but try to carve out a little corner somewhere that is for you and your hobby. Having a desk set up with your painting station ready to go means whenever the mood takes you, you can sit down and start painting. If, when you suddenly feel inspired, you have to go through your storage bins, find your paints and brushes, set up a space and arrange your lighting before you even open a paint pot, you are creating a significant barrier to your inspiration. I remember once, many years ago, I was painting my way through a board game at a time when my painting station was set up in the spare room. I was working at an incredible rate and it seemed I would have everything finished in record time. However, as the festive season approached, we were going to have guests staying over, so I had to pack everything away to make the spare room presentable for visitors. Once the guests left, it was months before I set out my painting station again, and even longer before I went back to that board game. I lost all my impetus and motivation. Number 2. Always have something primed ready. Seeing a finished miniature is motivating and inspiring. When you add that last detail and you sit back and think, I'm happy with that. That is a great feeling. It's also the feeling that makes me want to immediately grab the next miniature and start again. For that reason, I like to keep a selection of upcoming projects primed and ready to go. That way, when you are on a roll, you don't need to stop to pick your next miniature, prime it and wait for the primer to dry. You flow more naturally from project to project. This is particularly important for me as I spray undercoat my miniatures and I live in the UK. Spray undercoating necessitates going outside as I don't have a well ventilated garage or shed, and that means the weather has to be dry and not too cold. It's never good if I'm keen to paint something but I can't get anything coated because it's been raining for 3 days straight. Number 3. Don't run out of supplies. This point seems obvious, but it does happen. Think ahead. Make sure you know which paints you need for a project and have a stock of them. Make sure you always buy a fresh rattle can of undercoat before the current one runs out. If your brushes are getting knackered, replace them in good time. You don't ever want to be in that position where you are fired up to paint, but you are lacking essential tools. Number 4. Don't paint to other people's standards. I think this can be a big issue for some people. It's easy to look at amazing paint jobs from the top flight creators and think, well, I can't do that. My stuff will never be that good. It doesn't matter. Paint for yourself for your own standards. Set your own bar. If you go into every project trying to emulate people who do this for a living, you're going to end up disappointed and demotivated. If you go into a project thinking you're going to do the best you can for where you are in your own hobby journey, you're going to be so damn proud of whatever you have at the end. One of the things you might want to do is employ narrative in your pieces to bypass something that might currently be a stretch. As a simple example, I recently painted a Goblin airship. It has a flag hanging off the side that I have seen many people go to town on with lavish freehand designs. For my own paint job, I decided a particularly Goblin-like strategy would be to fly a white flag of surrender, only to then attack when the opportunity arose. So I painted the flag white and then just grubbied it up. Painting at your level extends to technique. One of the reasons I started making painting videos was because I found a simple painting guide online, and the first thing the creator did was get out an airbrush and start doing zenithal highlighting. That's advanced stuff requiring specialist tools and techniques, so I started making really simple painting guides. For new painters, I say start at the beginning and get those basic skills down, and if you are happy where you are, focus instead on becoming neater or faster. I still don't own an airbrush. And of course, now we are in the age of the speed paints. Everybody is slap chopping to get stuff painted fast, and that's great. That's just another way to get decent tabletop quality paint jobs on your miniatures. Number 5. Batch paint. Painting an army or a full set of board game pieces is a daunting proposition. You are probably looking down the barrel of 50 to 100 miniatures, many of which may be the same or very similar. While I will always paint champions and characters one at a time, if I am faced with units or large quantities of similar miniatures, I use a batch painting process. I usually work on 5 at a time, but you can do however many you feel confident tackling. Batch painting isn't exactly fun, but it's the best way to get through the slog. You apply one colour to each miniature, and by the time you finish on the last one, the first one is dry and ready for the next paint. As an extension of batch painting, I generally put less effort into the Horde miniatures, saving more time for special characters so they look extra special during a game. Number 6. Treat yourself. If you are about to tough it out through a particularly difficult or boring job, like painting 60 grots for your Warhammer army, make sure you have something fun lined up, a really cool hero or a monster, something you have been looking forward to. While you are painting the boring stuff, the thought of getting onto something more interesting will keep you driving forwards, and once you get to the interesting project, you will enjoy it even more because you will feel you earned it. Number 7. Keep making progress. The point of all these tips is to make it easier to just keep going, and that is the key. Just keep going. Make progress. There will be days when you really don't feel like doing anything. Even if your painting queue is growing, even if you have a fun project lined up, even if you have told yourself you won't buy any more minis until you finish your current batch of units. Those are the days when it really helps to have an established painting area with everything set up and ready to go, because those are the days when you should just go and slap one coat on something. Anything. Spray undercoat a miniature, base coat something, glue some miniatures to their bases, just do something small, because that's one less thing to do next time. And if you do even one thing each day, you are never grinding to a halt, and your projects are never completely stagnating. Number 8. Try to finish specific projects. Ultimately, the aim is to finish your projects. If you have set yourself the challenge of painting a board game, it's a good idea to try to finish painting that board game before moving on to something else. If you are painting a regiment for your army, finish that regiment as the priority. Finishing projects is hugely motivating. Seeing your work in action on the tabletop is incredibly rewarding, and it will encourage you to press on. However, sometimes you will get to the point where you just need a break. Rather than putting down your brush completely, switch to another project. Take a break from painting greenskins for a second to paint a robot or something, and then you can go back to the previous project feeling refreshed. And that leads nicely to point 9. You don't have a pile of shame. You will often hear people talking about their pile of shame, the stack of unpainted miniatures they haven't got around to yet, because they keep buying more stuff. While you definitely don't want to let that pile get too out of hand, you also shouldn't look at it like an albatross around your neck. Don't look at it as some kind of failing. Many years ago, I heard someone say, "It's not a pile of shame, it's a pile of potential." And that is a great mindset. If you have a stack of unpainted stuff, you are never short of inspiration. You always have something to look forward to. Whatever takes your fancy on any given day, you will have something ready to go. That can be liberating and exciting, and for some people, constantly darting between styles of miniatures will keep them hooked. And besides, it's only a pile of shame if you don't use the stuff at all. Which brings us to my final point, probably the most controversial thing on this list. Number 10. Play it grey. Get your miniatures built and get them on the table. Crack open your new board game from Kickstarter and get your grey plastic miniatures into the action. I know there are a lot of people who won't play a game until it's painted, and you have to give those people credit. And doing it that way does dovetail into point 8, finish your projects, and point 6, treat yourself after finishing a project. But even though it may contradict some of my previous advice, I think you need to get games to the table before you invest a huge amount of time into painting. I can't imagine anything worse than spending a month painting up a board game only to find I don't enjoy the game. To me, that becomes wasted effort, and that can be demoralizing. It can also make a game harder to sell, as unless your paint jobs are of a high standard, buyers on the secondary market are probably going to be more interested in an unpainted copy. If you get your miniatures built and used, you won't feel so bad about having them unpainted, and you will know if the game has enough merit to demand your precious painting time. And that's it, my top 10 tips for staying motivated, which may work for you. However, I think I should sign off this video with a bonus tip. Number 11, it's supposed to be fun. This is your hobby to enjoy your way when you want to. Yes, it's good to stay motivated and to keep going, but sometimes all the tricks and tips in the world aren't going to be able to drag you to your painting station. And that's okay. Don't beat yourself up staring at your unpainted miniatures, wondering what the heck is wrong with you for not getting more done, because that's when things stop being fun. And that's when it really is time to do something else, to remind yourself that you aren't just a painter. You are a person with a lot of interests. Watch a movie, go for a walk, play a board game or a video game, go out for dinner, mow the lawn, just do something else. Your brushes will still be there when you get back, and maybe that time away will have given you time to think of a new paint scheme or a solution to a particularly challenging project. But that really is it from me for now. Please share your thoughts in the comments, and as always, if you liked the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so, and hopefully I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.